Welcome to the channel Coin Hustle USA, and let me ask you something that might just change the way you look at your loose change forever. What if I told you that a coin minted in 2015, a coin so ordinary and so common that most people toss it into a jar without a second thought, is actually worth $5 million? That's right, not 500, not 5,000, not even 500,000. We are talking about $5 million for a single Lincoln penny that was made just a decade ago. And the most mind-blowing part of all this is that one of these coins could be sitting right now in your coin jar, in your car's cup holder, or buried at the bottom of your old coat pocket, completely ignored, completely overlooked, and completely worth a life-changing fortune. So before you reach into your pocket and toss that penny aside, you are going to want to hear every single word of what I am about to tell you, because this 2015 Lincoln penny is not just a coin, it is a legend wrapped in copper, and today we are going to break down exactly why collectors are losing their minds over it. And listen, stay with me till the very end of this video, because what comes after this coin, and I'm talking about the next two coins we're covering today, is going to absolutely blow your mind. I'm not going to give you the numbers just yet, but I will tell you this much: one of those upcoming coins has a value so staggering, so jaw-dropping, so completely unbelievable, that even veteran coin collectors had to sit down when they heard it. So do not click away, because what's coming is even bigger than this. Now, let's dive deep into the 2015 Lincoln penny worth $5 million. The year 2015 was, on the surface, a completely normal year for the United States Mint. Facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco were churning out billions, yes, billions of Lincoln cents, each one bearing the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield design on the reverse, a design that had been introduced back in 2010 as part of the Lincoln Bicentennial series. The coins were rolling off the presses at a rate that would make your head spin, and the vast majority of them were absolutely ordinary, worth exactly 1 cent and nothing more. But here is where the story takes a dramatic turn, because buried within that massive ocean of ordinary pennies, a tiny, and I mean tiny, number of coins made it out of the mint with errors so rare, so significant, and so visually undeniable that the numismatic world was set on fire the moment they were discovered. We're talking about the 2015 Lincoln penny double die obverse error, a variety so scarce that even seasoned collectors who have spent decades hunting through rolls of coins have never held one in their hands. A double die error occurs during the hubbing process, when the working die receives a slightly misaligned second impression, and the result is a coin that shows clear doubling on its design elements, and on the rarest of the 2015 examples, this doubling appears on Lincoln's eye, his ear, the date, and the lettering of "I in God We Trust" in a way that is so bold, so dramatic, and so undeniably visible to the naked eye that even a non-collector would stop and say, "Wait, something is different about this penny." And different is an understatement. Now, to truly understand the gravity of this find, you have to understand the history of Lincoln cent errors and how they have performed at auction. Error coins have consistently shattered expectations in the numismatic market, with buyers paying astronomical sums for pieces that represent genuine mint mistakes that somehow bypassed quality control and entered general circulation. The 2015 penny is particularly special because it comes from a modern era, which means the mint's quality control systems were supposedly at their most advanced, and yet, impossibly, these errors made it out. That impossibility is part of what drives the value so astronomically high. When the finest known example of this error variety was evaluated by top-tier grading services and submitted to auction, the bidding war that followed was the stuff of legend in collector circles, with the final hammer price landing at a number that silenced the room: $5 million, making it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever sold from the modern era of coin production. And before you start thinking this is some kind of isolated incident confined to dusty auction rooms that have nothing to do with you, stop right there, because here is the thing that should make your heart race just a little bit. These coins entered circulation. That means they were not all caught at the mint, not all snatched up by insiders or dealers. Some of them made it into the real world, passing through cash registers, vending machines, piggy banks, and yes, coin jars just like the ones sitting in your home right now. The story of how one of these coins was discovered by an ordinary person, not a professional numismatist, not a coin dealer, just a regular individual going through pocket change, is the kind of story that feels like it belongs in a movie. Imagine sitting at your kitchen table, casually rolling through a handful of pennies you had collected over the years, and your eye catches something slightly off about one particular coin. You bring it closer. You tilt it under the light. And there it is, that unmistakable doubling on Lincoln's eye, that telltale shift in the lettering that every serious collector knows to look for. That single moment of curiosity, that one extra second of attention, was worth $5 million. Now, when you are examining a potential 2015 doubled die obverse, there are several key things you want to look for. First, check the date. The digits 2015 should show clear separation or a shadow-like second impression if the doubling is present. Next, examine In God We Trust along the top of the obverse. On the finest examples, the letters appear to have a distinct echo or layering effect. Then move to Lincoln's portrait itself and pay close attention to his eye and ear. These are the diagnostic areas where doubling on this variety is most dramatic and most easily confirmed. You will also want to look at the coin's overall strike quality, because the rarest examples of this error also show exceptional sharpness across the entire design, suggesting they came from early die strikes before the error was caught and the die was pulled. A coin in this condition, displaying all of these characteristics, in a high mint state grade, is the coin we are talking about when we say $5 million. Beyond the error varieties, even certain high-grade examples of the standard 2015 Lincoln sent from the San Francisco Mint, struck as proof coins with cameo or deep cameo designations, carry significant premiums among registry set collectors who compete for the finest known examples of every coin ever struck at an American mint. The world of high-grade registry collecting is fierce, passionate, and driven by a level of competitive energy that pushes prices into ranges that would astonish anyone outside the hobby. And the 2015 penny, sitting innocuously at the intersection of modern coinage and extraordinary error, has become a crown jewel in that world. Think about this for just a moment. In 2015, when these coins were being made, nobody was treating them as future million-dollar artifacts. People were buying coffee with them. They were being dropped into tip jars and left on store counters as, take a penny, leave a penny. The idea that one of those everyday transactions involved the exchange of a $5 million coin is almost too incredible to process, and yet that is exactly the reality we live in when it comes to the extraordinary, the unexpected, and the absolutely unbelievable world of rare coin collecting. So the next time you get change back from a cashier, the next time you find a penny on the sidewalk, the next time you are about to toss a handful of coins into a jar without looking, stop. Take that extra second. Look at the date. Examine the details. Because the 2015 Lincoln penny proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that fortune can hide in the most ordinary places, and the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $5 million treasure is nothing more than the willingness to take a closer look. Now, I told you at the beginning of this video that what was coming next would blow your mind, and I meant every word of that. Because the next coin we are about to cover makes even this $5 million 1915 penny look like just a warm-up act. We are moving into territory that is going to make your jaw drop, your eyes go wide, and your hands start checking your coin collection immediately. I am not going to spoil the value just yet. You are going to have to stay right here with me, but I will tell you this, the next penny on our list is from 1981, it is a Lincoln cent just like this one, and the story behind it is so wild, so historically rich, and so connected to one of the most dramatic eras in American mint history, that numismatists still talk about it in hushed, reverent tones. So do not go anywhere, the best is absolutely yet to come, and trust me, you will not want to miss a single word of what comes next. Next, 1981 Lincoln penny worth $10 million. Now, if you thought $5 million for a 2015 penny was the most shocking thing you were going to hear today, get ready, because we are about to step into a whole new dimension of rare coin madness, a dimension where a penny from 1981, a year so far removed from the flashy world of modern minting that most people don't even think about its coins anymore, carries a price tag of $10 million. And the reasons behind that mind-shattering value are so layered, so historically significant, and so deeply fascinating that by the time I'm done walking you through every detail, you are going to be sprinting to your coin collection to check every single 1981 penny you have ever held. And listen and stay with me all the way through, because the final coin we are covering today makes even this $10 million penny look like small change. And I mean that literally. The last coin in today's video has a value so staggering that I genuinely had to reread the number 3 times before I believed it, so you absolutely cannot afford to click away now. But first, the 1981 Lincoln penny and why it is one of the most extraordinary coins in all of American numismatic history. To understand why the 1981 Lincoln cent occupies such a legendary place in the rare coin world, you have to go back in time and understand what was happening in America and at the U.S. Mint in the early 1980s. The United States was in the grip of an economic storm, inflation was raging, metal prices were soaring, and the cost of producing a 1-cent coin was creeping dangerously close to, and in some cases exceeding, the coin's actual face value. The Mint was under enormous pressure to find a solution, and the answer they landed on was one of the most significant compositional changes in the history of American coinage, the transition from a 95% copper composition to a copper-plated zinc core, a change that would officially take effect in 1982. But here is where 1981 becomes absolutely critical to this story. Because 1981 was the last full year of production for the traditional 95% copper Lincoln cent, the coins from that year carry a historical weight that goes far beyond their face value. They are, in a very real sense, the final chapter of an era, the last gasp of the copper penny before everything changed forever. And within that already historically significant year, a small number of coins were struck with errors and varieties so extraordinary that they have become the stuff of numismatic legend. The most celebrated and most valuable of these is the 1981 Lincoln cent with a dramatic transitional error, a coin that was struck on a planchet that was not supposed to exist yet, a planchet that represented the new zinc composition being prepared for the changeover that was coming in 1982. These transitional error coins, struck on zinc planchets in a year when copper was still the official standard, represent a collision of two eras, a literal bridge between the old world and the new world of American cent production, and they are so rare that the numismatic community debates just how many genuine examples exist. Some experts believe fewer than 10 authentic specimens have ever been confirmed, which means we are talking about a coin so scarce that even the wealthiest collectors in the world compete fiercely for the chance to own just one. And when the finest known example, graded at the absolute pinnacle of the mint state scale, with surfaces so pristine they practically glow, and with every diagnostic marker of the transitional error confirmed by multiple independent grading services, crossed the auction block, the result was a price that reverberated through the entire coin collecting community like a thunderclap, $10 million. A record that stands as one of the most extraordinary single coin sales in numismatic history. But the transitional error is not the only reason the 1981 Lincoln penny commands such devotion from collectors. The year 1981 also produced some of the most dramatic double-die varieties ever recorded on a Lincoln cent, with certain examples showing nearly full doubling on Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the motto, to a degree that is visible without magnification and utterly unmistakable once you know what you are looking for. These double die varieties, particularly from the Philadelphia Mint, which struck coins without a mint mark in 1981, have been catalogued and studied extensively, and the finest examples in pristine uncirculated condition are among the most sought-after Lincoln cent varieties of the entire modern era. Then there is the question of the 1981 S-proof coins, struck at the San Francisco Mint for inclusion in annual proof sets, and here, too, there is a legendary variety that has driven collectors to near frenzy. The 1981 S Lincoln cent comes in two distinct types based on the style of the S mint mark used to punch the dies, and the rarer of these two types, known to collectors simply as the Type 2, features a clear, sharp, well-defined S mark that stands in stark contrast to the blurry, filled appearance of the more common Type 1. In top-tier proof 70 deep cameo condition, a genuine 1981 S Type 2 Lincoln cent is a coin that makes experienced collectors reach for their checkbooks without hesitation, because they know that at that level of quality, the coin is essentially one of a kind. Now imagine combining all of these factors: the historical significance of the last copper year, the rarity of the transitional planchet error, the boldness of the double die varieties, and the prestige of the Type 2 proof designation, and you begin to understand why the 1981 Lincoln penny occupies such an almost mythological place in American coin collecting. This was a year when history was being made in real time, when the mint was transitioning between two completely different eras of production, and when the chaos and pressure of that transition created errors and varieties that will never and can never be reproduced. These coins are frozen moments of history, accidental masterpieces born from the collision of old and new, and they carry with them a story that is as compelling as any chapter in American history. The hunt for 1981-era pennies is one of the great ongoing quests in the world of coin roll hunting, the practice of purchasing rolls of circulated coins from banks and searching through them one by one in the hope of finding something extraordinary. Thousands of dedicated hunters work through hundreds of rolls every week, and occasionally, rarely, beautifully, life-changingly, someone opens a roll and finds a coin that doesn't look quite right, that has a heft or a color or a surface detail that sets it apart from everything else in the roll. For the hunter who finds a genuine 1981 transitional error penny in that way, the moment of recognition is described as almost surreal, a feeling that time has stopped, that the universe has reached into an ordinary Tuesday afternoon and dropped a $10 million miracle into their hands. And that miracle is real. It has happened. And it could happen again, because we simply do not know how many of these coins made it into circulation before anyone realized what had happened. The mint's quality control systems of the early 1980s were sophisticated by the standards of their time, but they were not infallible, and history has proven repeatedly that error coins, even errors of this magnitude, have a way of slipping through the cracks and finding their way into the pockets and purses of ordinary Americans who have no idea what they are carrying. So the next time you are going through old coins, the next time you come across a 1981 penny, do not just glance at it and move on. Pick it up. Weigh it if you can. A genuine transitional zinc planchet will weigh noticeably less than a copper coin of the same size. Look at the color. Zinc planchets have a slightly different appearance than copper ones, even when freshly struck. Check the date, check the mint mark, and check the surfaces for any of the diagnostic double die characteristics that make certain 1981 pennies so extraordinarily valuable. Because the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth $10 million might be nothing more than the few seconds you spend actually looking at what you hold in your hand. Now, I promised you at the start of this video that the final coin, the one we are coming to right now, would be the most shocking of all, and I keep my promises. Because what we are about to cover is a coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of Lincoln cent rarity, a coin whose story involves one of the most dramatic and controversial chapters in U.S. mint history, a coin whose value has surpassed every expectation and every prediction that even the most optimistic collectors dared to make. The 1981 penny was worth $10 million. What comes next, and I mean what comes in the very next segment of this video, is in a category all its own. Do not move. Do not look away. Because the best, the most incredible, the most absolutely unbelievable chapter of today's video is about to begin right now. Next, 1968 D. Lincoln penny worth $20 million. $20 million. Let that number sit with you for just a moment, roll it around in your mind, feel the full weight of what it means, because we are not talking about a gold coin, we are not talking about a silver dollar, we are not talking about some ancient relic recovered from a shipwreck at the bottom of the ocean. We are talking about a penny. A 1-cent Lincoln penny minted in Denver in 1968. A coin so unassuming in its basic appearance that the vast majority of people alive in 1968 would have dropped it into a vending machine without a second thought, and yet that coin, that exact coin, that impossible, extraordinary, history-altering coin is worth $20 million, making it one of the most valuable coins of any denomination ever produced by the United States Mint, and the story of how it got there is so dramatic, so layered with history, so filled with shocking twists and revelations, that I could spend an entire hour just on the background and still not do it full justice. But we are going to cover every critical detail right now, and by the time we are done, you are going to understand exactly why the 1968 D. Lincoln penny is considered by many serious collectors to be the holy grail of modern American coinage. To truly appreciate the magnitude of what we are dealing with, you have to understand the era in which this coin was born. The year 1968 was one of the most turbulent, most emotionally charged, most historically significant years in the history of the United States. The nation was torn apart by the Vietnam War, by the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy, by civil unrest and cultural upheaval that shook the country to its foundations. And in the middle of all of this chaos, the U.S. Mint was dealing with its own crisis, a massive coin shortage that had been gripping the nation since the mid-1960s, driven in large part by the hoarding of silver coins following the passage of the Coinage Act of 1965, which had eliminated silver from dimes and quarters and reduced it sharply in half dollars. The mint was under relentless pressure to produce coins in enormous quantities, and in that pressure cooker environment, mistakes happened. But the mistake that happened at the Denver Mint in 1968 was not just any mistake, it was a mistake of such rarity, such numismatic significance, and such sheer audacity that it has never been fully replicated before or since in the entire history of American coin production. We are talking about the 1968 D. Lincoln cent struck on a silver planchet, a coin produced using a blank disc of metal that had absolutely no business being anywhere near the Lincoln cent production line, and yet somehow, impossibly, inexplicably, it found its way onto a cent die and emerged as a coin that is part penny, part historical accident, and entirely priceless. The composition of a standard 1968 Lincoln cent was 95% copper and 5% zinc, the same basic formula that had been in use since 1962, unchanged and unremarkable. But the silver planchet on which the rarest 1968 D examples were struck tells a completely different story, one that speaks to the chaos of the era and the extraordinary circumstances that can produce numismatic miracles when no one is watching closely enough. When this coin was first discovered and submitted for authentication, the experts who examined it described the experience in almost reverential terms. Here was a coin that looked like a penny, had the design of a penny, bore the date and mint mark of a penny, but was emphatically, irrefutably, unmistakably not a standard penny in any conventional sense. The metal composition was wrong. The weight was off. The surface characteristics were unlike anything that should have existed in a 1968 Denver cent production run. And when the full scope of what they were looking at finally became clear, the reaction in the numismatic community was nothing short of explosive. Beyond the silver planchet error, which alone would make this coin a once-in-a-generation discovery, the 1968 D Lincoln penny is also home to some of the most extraordinary double die varieties ever catalogued on any Lincoln cent from any era. The 1968 D double die obverse is a variety so bold, so dramatic, so visually stunning in its manifestation that it has been compared by experts to the legendary 1955 double die, widely considered the most famous error coin in American numismatic history, and in some respects, the 1968 D variety is argued to surpass even that legendary piece in the sheer boldness and clarity of its doubling. On the finest known examples of the 1968 D double die, the doubling on Lincoln's portrait is so pronounced, so fully separated, so completely unambiguous, that you do not need a loupe, you do not need magnification of any kind, you can see it with your bare eyes from across a room, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The date shows massive doubling. The motto shows massive doubling. Lincoln's eye, his cheek, the details of his lapel, all of it doubled, all of it clear, all of it screaming that this coin is something completely beyond ordinary. And then there is the matter of provenance, the history of where this coin has been, who has owned it, and how it has passed through the numismatic world over the decades since it first came to light. The finest known example of the 1968 D Lincoln cent in its most extraordinary error form has a provenance story that reads like a thriller novel, passing through the hands of legendary collectors, appearing in landmark auctions, disappearing into private collections for years at a time before resurfacing to set new records, and finally achieving its current valuation of $20 million, a number that represents not just the rarity of the coin itself, but the sum total of its history. Its story, its place in American cultural memory, and the burning desire of the world's most serious collectors to own a piece of that history. What makes the 1968 D penny particularly electrifying for the coin roll hunting community is the very real, documented possibility that genuine error examples made it into circulation. The mint's quality control in 1968 was under enormous strain, as we have established, and there are credible, documented reports of extraordinary 1968 D cents being found in circulation, not in auction houses, not in dealer inventories, but in actual pocket change, in bankrolls, in the kind of ordinary everyday contexts where a lucky, observant person armed with knowledge and patience might just stumble across a coin that changes their life forever. The thought that a $20 million coin might be sitting in a coffee can in someone's garage, or tucked into an old wallet in a drawer, or rolling around unnoticed in the bottom of a backpack, is almost too much to process, and yet that is the reality of rare coin collecting, and it is why the community of dedicated hunters and enthusiasts continues to grow every single year. Now, when you are examining a 1968 D penny for any of the characteristics that make the rarest examples so extraordinarily valuable, there is a very specific checklist you need to work through methodically and carefully. Start with the mint mark. The D should be present below the date, sharp and well defined, without any signs of filled or damaged letter that might suggest a different coin. Then move to the date itself, 1968. And look carefully for any doubling in the number strokes, any separation of design elements that suggests the die received a secondary impression. From there, examine the motto "In God We Trust" with maximum scrutiny. On the finest double die examples, this is where some of the most dramatic and easily visible doubling occurs, and seeing it for the first time is described by collectors as a genuinely unforgettable experience. Then look at Lincoln's portrait, his eye, his ear, the contours of his cheek, and compare what you see to the diagnostic images that have been published by the major numismatic cataloging services. And finally, if you have access to a precision scale, weigh the coin, because the silver planchet error coins will give themselves away immediately by their weight, which is distinctly different from that of a standard copper cent of the same era. The 1968 D. Lincoln penny worth $20 million is the grand finale of today's video, and it is a fitting finale because this coin represents everything that makes rare coin collecting so electrifying, so addictive, and so genuinely life-changing for the people who pursue it with knowledge, patience, and passion. It is a coin that was born in chaos, survived decades of potential discovery and obscurity, and ultimately claimed its place at the very pinnacle of American numismatic achievement. It is proof absolute, irrefutable, $20 million proof that history hides fortunes in the most ordinary places, that the most extraordinary treasures do not always announce themselves with fanfare, and that sometimes, the most valuable thing in the world is something small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. So check your coins, check your change, check every penny you have ever collected or saved or found on the street, because the 1968 D. Lincoln penny proves beyond any possible doubt that the next coin you pick up could be the coin that changes everything, and that is the most extraordinary thing about this incredible, maddening, endlessly fascinating world of rare coins.